Hey folks, it's Johnny Flynn. Busy, busy, busy. But every day I'm going to do a post, and I have some topics coming up that are probably going to get me kicked off every media avenue. But anyone who wants to come meet the next district attorney of New York, we have an event on the 20th, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene on the 23rd. It's a must see. If you saw the invitation about Trish Lindsay, you should be suspect. She claims to be an attorney in Connecticut, but she is not registered as an attorney in Connecticut. She is registered in New York, so she is an attorney. However, I am told by someone who knows that she facilitated the bribe in the Stephen Barrier murder between Colangelo and the ex-head of the Norwalk NAACP. So if you know who that is, I'm not going to mention his name. There are disturbing things about the Barrier murder. Today is the first day of jury selection for the Aubrey case. Now, I'm not going to highlight the Aubrey case. I will just say that the Barrier case is far worse. Now, the document I want to highlight today is incredibly important. Incredibly important. Here it is. Let me make it bigger. Let me take myself off the screen. There you go, folks. Let's read it. Let's read it out loud. Read it out loud. Ready? Patent 11,107,588, August 31st, 2021. Patent documents. Do you know who Elrich is? An Israeli? See these Israelis? Have you been following the Israeli news? You need to follow the Israeli news. I can't share it. I'll be kicked off Facebook immediately. There's a fact, Jack. So, read this paragraph. It's important. System and methods for anonymously selecting subjects for treatment against an infectious disease caused by a pathogen. The system comprises a plurality of electronic devices comprising instructions to generate an ID, and when in proximity of another, such as electronic device, one or both electronic devices transmit and receive the ID to, from the other electronic device. It is a nanotechnology marker. Do you know what that means? Then a score is generated based on plurality of received IDs. This is uncharted waters, folks. Additionally, based on information received from a server, relevant treatment instructions, blah, blah, blah. Not to overwhelm you, but I was a biotechnology analyst. I owned 250,000 Paladin Lab shares, 250,000 Virex shares. I owned 250,000, a lot of stuff. And that's why our broker-dealer in Connecticut, Greenwich Global LP, was robbed. So that is why an informant was sent by the police union with an axe to kill me in 2010. So just to put aside anything, this is not conspiracy theory. And those that think it is, you're sadly mistaken. Encapsulating a pathogen in a wax is not a vaccine. No. What you need to know is too frightening to tell. But I will say, on this computer behind me, let me turn on my On this computer behind me, it's not connected to the rest. Neither is the laptop right here. There's reasons why they're not connected. And you're going to learn them over time if you pay attention. And if you don't, you'll be one of those lemmings or a sheep being sheared by people who think they need to be in control and will do anything to get control of you. So, it's kind of disturbing that both my sons got vaccinated. They had to attend college in Connecticut, to work for a car company. Can my knowledge of what's happening help the state of Connecticut in the future? That's only if you vote out Richard Blumenthal. If you look at what Murphy and Himes are doing, you don't know the picture. You don't have the full picture. Himes is involved, folks, in the dirtiest cover-up of all time. Comey's relying on Himes' statements about evidence he's received on the Intelligence Committee, of which they've never produced, because A, it doesn't exist, or they would have produced it. So Comey now blames Himes. Blumenthal blames Comey. Comey is a Republican. There's lots of Republicans we need to look into. There's more Democrats than Republicans that we need to look into, but in the state of Connecticut, where do we go? We have to hold on to values, hold on for dear life, and pray. So, go to the Marjorie Taylor event. There are things coming up after that that are equally important. We haven't even started our fight. Our fight starts and ends in dangerous places. Keep in mind, with the Aubrey case, that's the Stephen Barrier murder in Stamford, Connecticut, is far worse. Everything you hear about Aubrey is wrong. There's morality, ethics, there's conspiracy, there's prosecutorial misconduct, for sure. But the prosecutorial misconduct in the Aubrey case does not compare to the prosecutorial misconduct in Connecticut of Richard Colangelo, who covered up Bernie Madoff in Connecticut for 21 years and counting. I'm not talking about a small number of transactions. I'm talking about 500,000 that I know of. And I'm talking about 253 other brokerage firms damaged due to the SEC, NASDAQ, and FINRA. And if you look what Fidelity's having problems with computer shares now. Computer shares brought NASDAQ public. Computer shares stole the private placement shares of the NASDAQ corporation when it went public. That's been covered up by Richard Colangelo. That's been covered up. And the fact that I filed charges against Harry Rilling, who's on top of this cover-up, instructing detectives not to investigate financial crimes, it's not a mystery, folks. Promises are being made at high levels of military courts in Connecticut, elsewhere, in New England, for sure. There's a target. They're closing the net. They're going to close the net real soon. If you don't believe me, don't care. It's not conspiracy theory. The hack in Connecticut is not conspiracy theory. Actually, it's science. Routers, IP addresses, switching votes, as evidenced by H.R. 1, co-sponsored by Jim Himes, DeLauro, Hayes, Courtney, and Larson. Our 5 congressmen are the Connecticut cabal. Have a great day. All's well. The more you share and post and comment, the safer I'll be. Please do it. We're sacrificing all to save what's left. What's left is debt. Debt, when interest rates go up, is a boa constrictor. Every time it tightens, it cuts off your air and your lung capacity. Every time you exhale, it closes its chokehold. So when I say chokeholds in Connecticut are illegal, really? Ask Alfred Esposito, who got choked in Norwalk, if it occurred after the Garner incident, and compare the 2 videos, the body cam versus the eyewitness cam. The body cams of the cops were edited 4 times. It's clear. When the police are yelling, he's not resisting, he's not resisting, he's not resisting, why then would they edit those words from witnesses who could testify? This calls into question whether or not cops in Connecticut, bad cops, good cops we can't defund. Bad cops, defunding is not nearly what we have to do. When I say to you, the body cam evidence of the Stamford Police Department has been falsified, it was filmed 4 hours after the murder of Stephen Barrier. That's why I'm saying the Aubrey case is one thing. The Barrier case is something else. Can you see my hand? Yeah. Listen carefully. When a boy is tasered on his 23rd birthday, taser stands for Thomas A. Swift Electric Rifle. Memorize that. It's a rifle. It's a firearm. Now, Blumenthal, my opponent in my Senate race, is accusing all Republicans of being complicit in mass shootings. So now we go to the Marjorie Taylor Greene event, and the Democrats are going to say, hey, you're disrespecting Sandy Hook. Not true. Not true at all. Your right to a firearm is one thing. I'm worried about all the other rights. Your right to due process in court. Your right to a judge that isn't corrupt. Your constitutional rights. Your property rights. Every right you're losing right now is due to this wave of socialism, where they're going to have the right to your property, your income, your liberty, your pursuit of happiness, everything that the founders wanted. So, hear me out. This is the point I want to make. You ready? If Blumenthal, my opponent, thinks all conservatives and Republicans are complicit in mass shootings, Blumenthal took direct contact with Stephen Barrier's mother. She wrote him letter after letter asking for his help. How was the bribe sent from Lamont to Tong? Through Colangelo. Colangelo requested a $30 million payment from Tong, your Attorney General, who falsified his delegate votes. Let me repeat. Lamont was asked through tongue, okay, from Mrs. Barrier to Colangelo. At the time, Colangelo was a defendant in a trial that I filed. Stephen Barrier and the mother were plaintiffs in the trial. And meanwhile, Colangelo bribed a plaintiff as a defendant in FST CV 502-3122-S. Who was the attorney that facilitated the bribe? Well, first of all, her name is Trish Lindsay. Second of all, she's not registered in Connecticut as an attorney. She's a registered attorney in New York. What she's doing in Connecticut is not protected by the attorney-client privilege. Trish Lindsay, up till this morning, was scheduled to speak at the Marjorie Taylor Greene event. Unfortunately for her, I believe that is no longer the case, because you can't have someone collecting bribes and giving them to Black Lives Matter, giving them to the NAACP in Stamford, giving them to the president of the NAACP in Stamford, who's friends with Richard Colangelo since high school. Pay me $30 million. I'll divvy up the money. I'll give $7 million to the mother, $7 million to the father, which was refused, and I'll give it to the Baptist Church. Oh, Bishop Ford. Oh, let's give money to the cemetery. Let's give money to the NAACP, Stamford. Really? Who's Guy Fort? Who's Guy Fort? Did he dictate how much money that the Barrier family would get to cover up a taser death that Richard Colangelo says there is no taser evidence for? Sean Bogger at the Stamford Police Department says that Richard Colangelo never bothered to ask him whether he had a taser evidence or not. So what's going on here? Put him on a scale. Police misconduct or back the blue? Police misconduct or back the blue? Well, certainly we have to back the blue when they're honest, like my Uncle Joe and his 3 sons. But when you look at the facts of the Barrier murder and compare it to Aubrey, there's no comparison whatsoever. Using a taser under the chin, in the back of the head, and in the temples is torture. So, look where society is taking us. I just showed you a patent on a electronic concoction in a vaccine. Is it the mark of the beast? Well, it's a marker. Law-abiding citizens and people with faith understand what the marker is. The question is whether you're going to come through and have every person you know back John Flynn for the U.S. Senate. All's well. Have a great day. I'm at 19 minutes. I hope you listen, and listen carefully, because I need you to share, post, and talk about topics to provide me with protection, because the only way I'll stay safe with a James Comey FBI of Connecticut is that there's overwhelming knowledge